Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and four-time author, Tony Walker.
It's called the Autobahn, which simply stated stands for Automobile Road. First constructed and opened to the public for their driving consumption in May of 1935, the Autobahn is famously known for its many stretches of roadway with no speed limits. In fact, all the way back to 1938, these stretches of the Autobahn Road, which now extends some 8,000 miles, there was a famous German race car driver by the name of Rudolf, I won't pronounce his last name, was able to reach speeds of up to 268 miles per hour in his Mercedes-Benz W125 road wagon. And I thought speeding down the Bluegrass Parkway in 1976 at 55 miles per hour in my Volkswagen Beetle was impressive. Of course, what the press wasn't allowed to share during his high speeds were the innocent drivers who didn't get out of his way. Interesting thing is that on the Autobahn is that with these vast stretches of roadway with no speed limits, traffic would be a dumpster fire, right? But no, actually, statistics prove that driving on the Autobahn with no speed limits is actually safer than driving up and down I-65. So how can this be, and what does driving safely at high speeds have to do with using and enjoying your money on a safe basis? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, welcome, folks, to the WorryFree Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, safe driving financial specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And before we get started today, let me introduce three folks in the WorryFree studios who are safely producing this show each and every week. First of all, we've got America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander. Louisville, Kentucky's most laid-back graphics artist, Mr. Derek Hudson. And finally, our associate producer, Miss Meek and mild Mary Beth Combs. Okay, our theme of how to follow the financial laws in order to create something I call sleep insurance is something we covered last week, and once again, we're going to take an even deeper dive this week and next, because let's face it, if you're going to jump out on the financial highway we call retirement, you better know what you're doing, and more importantly, who to trust to get behind the wheel, because let's face it, if you jump into the car with the wrong advisor, you don't want to end up like this. So how do drivers stay safe on the Autobahn? How do the areas with no speed limits actually have fewer accidents than the roadways with them? According to research, the main factors for safety while on the Autobahn include safe roads, cars that are regularly inspected, and best of all, drivers who must undergo extensive tests for 6 months before being allowed to drive on the Autobahn, which makes my experience of driving around the block to get my driver's license back in 1976 pretty simple. Oh, but boy, was I good at parallel parking. So how can we get behind the wheel of our finances, follow a certain financial law, and create order so that we can sleep better at night with our money? Well, stay tuned as I continue Law and Order, Part 2. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. You wouldn't go through major surgery without getting a second opinion, would you? Well, of course not. And neither should you blindly trust your life savings to the first advisor you meet. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for more than 37 years I've been providing free second opinions, and I'd like to do the same for you. To get your free second opinion, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, or call the toll-free number on your screen. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. As I think about this concept of the Autobahn and people driving fast and having safe vehicles, this was hilarious. Years ago, me and my wife went to Bermuda, and located by the hotel was all these little mopeds sitting out. Now you got to remember, in Bermuda, we'll see this in a minute, the roads are very narrow, and somebody had told us that you could rent these mopeds, so we did. And the nice young lady strapped a couple of helmets on us, made us drive around the parking lot to make sure we knew what we were doing, and off we're going on these narrow roads in Bermuda. Now, what somebody didn't tell Susan when we rode around these narrow roads, by the way, you drive on the opposite side and cars are coming at you, is you're supposed to lean with the driver that's leaning on the motorcycle or moped. And I wondered why I was almost veering into traffic as I rounded these turns. So I look back, and when I'm leaning, Susan's leaning the other way. And of course, we learned a valuable lesson about understanding how to drive a moped in Bermuda. Okay, I digress. So as we think about this fundamental concept that for any society to have peace and tranquility, there must be law and order, just like the law and order imposed on a German highway who has 65% of its roadway without speed limits. And as we discussed last week, there are certain financial laws and order that must be in place so that savers will have what I call So let's begin by an explanation of the laws of money in real time. Now, last week I demonstrated on the whiteboard how to accurately compare the guaranteed worst case scenarios of three different options. The ever popular bonus annuity, the other option was putting all of your money into the risky stock market, and finally the safest and surest form of sleep insurance, something we in the industry call a fixed interest annuity, which, by the way, as of the date of this recording, for 10 years, will guarantee 4% on your money with no fee. But as I was going through the whiteboard, thanks to America's favorite financial sidekick, Mr. Aaron Orander, he was able to come in and fill in the blanks as I'm walking out to get another cup of coffee.
All right, let me just get the whiteboard cleared off here, and wait a minute. Tony, he forgot to fill in some lines. Well, that's okay. I guess I can do it. Let's see. That goes right there, and it looks like that goes there. Okay, let me get that filled in. There we go. Perfect. Boy, he's lucky he's got me.
So I left off one of the most important points. So what I did was I had Derek Hudson recreate the whiteboard graphic, and let's take a look at the last few lines that I wanted to emphasize one more time. So notice the bonus annuity only had a guaranteed rate of 0.25%, worst case scenario, plus a fee of 0.95%. Obviously, Wall Street has no guarantees and a fee of 1.5% in this example. And then the sleep insurance or fixed interest annuity with its guaranteed rate of 4% and zero fees. As we summarize the difference, here's what happens. At the end of 10 years, based on withdrawals of $12,000 a year, the bonus annuity only has about $225,000, worst case scenario. At the end of 10 years, the stock market, well, who knows? And of course, with the interest annuity, even paying a guaranteed $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year, at the end of 10 years, if this person were to surrender it, would get their full $300,000 back. Pretty impressive stuff. So Tony, you might be asking, why are you so fascinated with safety that comes with driving on a highly regulated parkway with well-trained drivers and no speed limits? Well, it's a good question. In fact, it was the same question I was asked to address at a conference years ago that included over 500 advisors from throughout the country who wanted to know the secret sauce of how Tony Walker Financial is able to help so many savers worry less about money. You see, you've got to understand there are certain financial laws in place, and in order to create those laws, you have to create something I did, which is called proprietary software. This is our worry-free retirement software, which in my view is what creates a good night's sleep, which I call sleep insurance.
Sleep insurance!
So you got to have a trained retirement planning firm in your corner to get behind the wheel so they can take you to your destination safely. We call this the worry-free retirement, and we are experts in helping savers navigate this thing called retirement. So what's the solution to following financial laws plus putting order into your lives in order to create more of this sleep insurance? Well, when I return, I'm going to share with you on the whiteboard the laws of the 401k and how you can beat the government and beat the financial world at their own game. It's called the Live Well, Die Broke approach to money. So stay tuned. Let us get the whiteboard out. I'm Tony Walker. I'll be right back. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. To meet in person at no cost or obligation, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call the toll-free number on your screen. We look forward to talking with you soon. Considering the fact that we are in some very volatile times, speeding down the left-hand lane and not sure where we're going, quite frankly, a lot of savers tend to ask these types of questions during volatile times. Tony, what do you think of Bitcoin? Tony, since the economy is so volatile, should I invest in gold and silver? And Tony, with this being an election year, is now possibly the time to jump into the stock market? Well, in keeping with our theme of financial law and order equals sleep insurance, here's my simple response to these types of questions, and it's speculation. You know, as the late, great Benjamin Graham noted in his masterful book, The Intelligent Investor, he says the following basically: if you're a saver and trying to invest in things you don't understand that contain risk to your principal, you're probably not a saver, but you are a speculator. Which is why we at Tony Walker Financial do not like speculating with our saver clients' money. Why? Because we know the mind of savers, and we know that they do not like risking a lot of their money. Savers are not and should not fall into what I call the speculation trap, because if things are well thought out, then there should be no reason to speculate on your money in retirement. I know this because I've done it for 38 years. I've met with over 15,000 savers in person. I've personally overseen more than 5,000 written game plans, and this is why I created a philosophy and a process for changing our views on money I call Live Well, Die Broke. Incidentally, to learn more about this philosophy, I invite you to pick up a copy of Live Well, Die Broke at any major bookseller, and assuming you're a saver, I think you're going to find that it's a game changer in the way you view money and how best to use and enjoy this money before it's too late. Okay, before we go to the whiteboard, I got to cover this. What is really going on here, Tony? Why do you have such a different perspective on money? How could you get all this stuff laid out and work with so many saver clients? And why are you the one out there, one of the lone wolves, that keeps telling everybody to use and enjoy this money before it's too late? Aren't you worried about inflation and nursing homes? And yeah, folks, all that stuff can happen. But in most cases, here's what I see. As people get older, they spend less money. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. But there's a problem. The narrative right now in retirement planning is controlled by Wall Street. And here's basically what they tell you to do. The red line, the chart behind this gentleman here, equals the amount of money you're supposed to accumulate. So in other words, as you get older, you're supposed to keep saving and saving and saving and keep saving. And at my estimation, most people that I've met with, and I've met with a lot of people well into what I call the second half of life, have waited way too long to spend and enjoy this money. So why would Wall Street preach this? Because they get recurring fees on your money. It does not bode well for them for you to take this money back from them and spend and enjoy it. So how do we pull this off at Tony Walker Financial? How do we make sure that you enjoy your money while you still can, but not run out of it as you get into what I call the second half of life? Well, I've kind of created this little template here, and I apologize that this is a little confusing. And this is why, folks, again, you need to get in touch with us, and we will put this in the form of a game plan. So all I'm trying to do today is to show you conceptually, after working with all these people and learning all of this information in the art of retirement planning, why we're so different and how we think differently about money than the rest of the financial herd out there. So in this example, we have two 60-year-olds, a husband and wife. Okay, we're just going to keep this a real simple case. They both are eligible for Social Security, all right? And they have two IRAs. Now in this case, we'll just assume that the wife has a small IRA. She maybe has taken care of the kids all her life, or whatever the source may be. If I had my bigger whiteboard out, quite frankly, I'd lay out a bunch of things, because usually both spouses will have assets, but we're just trying to make this real simple. So what we've done, put this up full screen, Aaron, what we did with this gentleman, we took his IRA and we divided it into two IRA buckets. This is called the Split Ira Concept, where we use our Charles Schwab bucket for liquidity and immediate income, And then the annuity bucket is there for what we call our beloved
mailbox money.
So let's take a look at this. So obviously they want to retire and they're both 60. I see this all the time and they're saying, okay, Tony, this is all well and good. What are we going to live on? Our paycheck just stopped. You're going to handle our 401k and move all that over, but we can't even draw Social Security till 62. What are we supposed to do? Well, that's where the split IRA comes in. So in this example, between 60 and 62, we're going to have the flexibility to use that split IRA to provide them income. And you say, how much income? As much as they need based on the model. Okay, of course, we can't create money out of thin air, but that's why we go through a detailed analysis to see exactly what they need, how much money they're going to be spending, and where we're going to invest that money. So we've checked that box. Notice IRA number 2, that's for later. We're not going to touch that right now. And then we're talking about Social Security, and you might be thinking, well, you know, since the husband worked, made pretty good money, the wife didn't work as much outside the household, but she'd kind of like to draw her Social Security. Maybe she's had some health issues, I don't know, but we say, you know what, how about if we go ahead and take some of your Social Security now and we will let the wife draw her Social Security. May not be a lot, but I'm just showing this would be an example of how we would do that. The reason I'm showing this as an example, so in this case, and this is what we would show you in our proprietary software, we may be able to cut the withdrawals back from Charles Schwab as we draw her income. See, this is how this works. So again, folks, what a retirement planning specialist does is manage your money after you retire. You know, one of the concerns I have out there, you all are rushing out to throw your money at people, and after the sale, it's basically done. Folks, if you have a proper game plan and you're working with a retirement planning firm, the planning just started. The rollover is just getting the money into our process, and from there, that's when we provide our expertise to figure out how to manage where we're going to get the money from in the least cost and the most tax efficient manner. Okay, you've got to understand there's a lot involved in how we lay this out. So then we've got her Social Security still paying. Maybe at this point, we just take half of what we were taking here. We don't need all of it because at 67, all of a sudden we start his Social Security. That would be his full retirement age. And you never know, he might even want to go work part-time. I don't know, but he can work anywhere he wants, make any amount of money he wants to make once he hits full retirement. Then we continue to pay Social Security, plus age 72 is the new required minimum distribution age. That's a key age. As you notice, I'm putting key ages here for a reason. This is what we go through and we're planning and trying to figure out which key ages we're going to turn on income. So in this case, this gentleman has to take amount of money out with the live well, die broke philosophy because we want them to enjoy the money while they still can. We're going to continue that Schwab bucket. Now at some point, and let's just say, I'm going to say roughly right after 72, we may stop the Schwab bucket, leave a little bit in there depending on how much they want to leave in there, and then we're going to start the annuity. The annuity is down here. If you can come down here, we're going to call that the thereafter. That's where our beloved mailbox money comes from. So what happens is we may not take any more out of Schwab, maybe just for emergencies. We got the mailbox money. Let's say the husband passes away. Okay, certainly she's going to lose her Social Security, but since he waited, she's going to still get his, the higher of the two benefits, for the rest of her life. So as we look at this, folks, and you say, well, wait a minute, is that how I'm supposed to do it? No, that's not the point. The point is you have to have an advisor who understands all of these different elements, understands how the taxes, fees, the need for money, distribution planning, all of that is what we do at Tony Walker Financial. So if you don't have anybody that's ever provided you a written game plan, I'm not talking about people just selling you stuff, annuity peddlers, or people wanting to manage your money with no game plan. I'm talking about a written game plan that shows you what you've got and how you're going to use and enjoy this money before it's too late. My question is, why not? To get started with Tony Walker Financial, all you got to do, and it's absolutely free, is log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button, or if you like to make it easy, all you got to do is call the toll-free number on your screen and tell them you want to speak to the owner of the company, Tony Walker, free of charge about your financial situation. Well, what does the Bible have to say about law and order? Actually, some really good news, and the main question you should not be asking about others. Let me get a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
Hi guys, my name is Keith Carnes. This is my wife, Terry Carnes. We live here in Corydon, Indiana, the southern part of Indiana. I retired in April 3rd in 2020.
I retired after about 35 years of ministry, and we love retirement.
Yes, we do.
We found Tony Walker, and we've not regretted it since. He listened to us because everybody has different goals in life, and he listened to what we wanted, and we've never regretted going to Tony. We discussed it early on that we wanted to go out and about. We did not want to sit on our front porch in our rocking chairs and just watch life go by. We wanted to go out and do things while we had the health to do it. And so that's pretty much why we decided to start our YouTube channel. It was kind of a bummer when we retired in April of 2020 and we were in quarantine. We couldn't go anywhere. So what we did was we filmed some things from our home, and then we ventured out, and there's a lot of history in Corydon, so we went out where we could film outside and filmed a lot of historical things.
For me, the favorite part of having a YouTube channel is that we're actually getting out of the house and going places that we want to go to. You know, there's no time restraints. You know, we can get up if we decide to stay home, we can, but if we decide we want to go out and film a cave or something like that, then we're going to find a cave nearby. There's several caves that we've already filmed, and we can just go out and do spare in the moment things.
And we've definitely enjoyed it. We enjoy getting our calendars out and planning, like where are we going to go this week, where are we going to go the next week, and it's fun to us to plan, to do that, and we haven't regretted it at all.
No.
We've met a lot of people. When we go out and film, we always wear our shirts and it strikes up conversations with people, and so we've met a lot of people, and we just feel like while we feel like we're still young, while we have our health, that we want to get out and about and do the things that we've always wanted to do but never had time for. So that's why we love the YouTube channel.
With the uncertainty of the stock market, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. To talk to me at no cost or obligation, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Earlier in the show, we talked about this notion of savers investing in things they don't understand and into investments that contain probably way too much risk. Something we in the financial world call speculation. Oh, speaking of speculation, I can think of no better example of us humans constantly falling into the speculation trap than us trying to predict the weather. Why, just the other day, while golfing with my favorite nephew and fellow fiduciary Wes, along with my favorite brother Marty and Wes's favorite golfing buddy Jack, I noticed both Wes and Jack nervously scrolling on their phone and announcing that according to the radar, we were getting ready to get hit by a huge storm. As someone who is used to playing golf in inclement weather, I was not really afraid, but felt it necessary to heed their warnings as we sped our little golf carts to the shelter. As the radar told of heavy rains for the next half hour, we sat and waited while nothing happened. Just more proof that even when it comes to the weather, the best man can do sometimes is, yes, speculate about it. Which leads to this whole notion of us humans constantly speculating about things we really don't know or understand, especially when they come to the things of God. God's laws, God's weather, God's time frame, and yes, even God's laws about money. But nowhere do us humans, yes, even us Christians, love to speculate that on the subject of who will one day get to heaven and who's going to head straight to the abyss. Well, all I can tell you is what Paul warned us about in these verses is a very, very important question for both believers and non-believers, and that is this: who's going to get to heaven and who's not? Well, first of all, it's interesting that Paul suggests that not saying or asking who will ascend into heaven, but he also mentions not to ask the same question of who will descend into the abyss. In fact, to do so literally will bring shame to us. These powerful verses of Scripture are not speculating on who we think gets a pass into heaven and who does not. What Paul is saying is this: do you believe that this man Christ came and died for you so that you might be saved? Do you or do you not? It doesn't tell us to speculate on who might get in and who doesn't. That's God's bidding. No, what these verses tell me is that if I will simply believe in my heart and my soul and confess with my mouth that this man Christ is who he said he was and came to do what he said he was going to do, then I'm saved, and it is no longer my job to speculate on the fate of others. In other words, it is not which laws I'm able to follow and keep that allow me to enter heaven, but by faith, as evidenced by my confession, this is what allows me to be saved. So, Christian, here's my humble thoughts on the matter of speculating who will get to heaven and who won't. You might want to stop. Stop getting distracted about things you have no control over, nor understand what God has in store for others. Pray for others? Indeed. But you be sure to keep your hands on the spiritual wheel and don't venture into that left-hand lane where you don't know where you're going for fear you too might end up crashing and burning. No, you put your faith and your trust in the finished work at the cross, and I assure you, the worries of this world, and yes, even the worries over money, will become insignificant compared to the wonderful home that awaits you and I in heaven. Can I get an amen? Amen. Well, how about you? You might be saying, Tony, I now understand for the first time why I'm not sleeping at night. Because I never truly understand these financial laws of money you keep talking about, and how you guys over at Tony Walker Financial can create more order in my life so I can get some of that sleep insurance you keep talking about. So how do you get started? Well, actually, that's very easy. All you have to do, one of two things, you can log on to our website at TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Just click on that Let's Get Started button, and we're going to arrange a free 10-minute fiduciary phone call with myself. That's right, the owner of the company with over 38 years of experience, overseeing more than 5,000 written game plans. We'll talk to you personally about your situation. And then if it warrants, we will be happy to meet with you in person at no cost or obligation at either our Bowling Green, Louisville, or Lexington, Kentucky offices. So do it now. Log on to our website, or if you like, just to make it easy, you can call the toll-free number on your screen. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. I look forward to next week as we conclude our series on Law and Order, Part 3. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.